Hello, this is Michael Rich, and I am presenting on my research topic, which was free writing more than just a writing exercise, is what I've come to as my title. I'm going to go ahead and go present full screen here and move myself down a little bit. Okay, I've tried to keep this presentation real simple, no frills. Um, but again, free writing more than just a writing exercise. So, what did I want to know? Now, my research question went through many different iterations, and this is kind of what I've finally come to. And I'm still not completely satisfied by this for a couple different reasons, and I'll explain. But to what extent can free writing help to engage a disengaged student by building relational capital between student and teacher? Um, and I have in all caps student because initially I was going to focus on many students, but then I thought that maybe this is a good opportunity to simplify as much as possible and focus just on one student who I considered to be a disengaged student, who I had access to, because one of the problems with the study is that so many of my students were kind of in and out. I might have them turn working on one day and not another. And because we were virtual, I also didn't have a whole lot of good face to face, one on one contact, and nobody was turning their cameras on. So it was a bit of a struggle. Um, but what I ended up doing is deciding to focus on a student who I did definitively have some contact with, and whose mother I had also been in contact with, and that allowed me to kind of harness the advantages of having had many interactions with him. But again, um, I had decided that he was representative of a disengaged student. One of the things that he would do is turn work in, um, and it would be either incomplete or not even present. He would just hit turn in on Google Classroom, um, but he would come to class. So he was engaged in that way. So he was a perfect candidate for what I wanted to do. Um, so what did I find? Well, a little background first. My study ended up focusing on one troubled student who had been attending virtual classes during NTI but did very little work. And when he did do his work, it was either done superficially or was incomplete. So the first thing that I had done, and I had record of all this stuff so I could go back and look at it, was that I intervened with a parent-teacher conference, and I followed that with a teacher-student conference where I was able to wrangle the student and get him to see what I expected from the free writing assignments that I was giving that he was not doing. I take that back. He was doing a little bit of them at one point. He wrote, "I don't know what to say," over and over and over again, which some teachers are okay with, just to get the kid writing, but that wasn't okay for what we were asking them to do, because we were trying to give them plenty of freedom when writing these free writes. You could write about anything, and we gave them other inroads into writing about things that they're interested in. So from my conversation with his mother, I was able to find out that he really liked video games. And more specifically, I came to find out these survival video games. I encouraged him to write about the survival video games and other video game experiences that he's had when he was assigned these free writes, and he started to do that. So based on my reading of his work, and that's an integral part of this, is that you got to read the work and you got to comment in some capacity. But I learned that what specific video games he liked, and I actually started to do a little bit of research. Um, Part of the thing that allowed me to be even more interested in this is that my son also is into video games, and I was able to talk to the student about what my son was doing and ask him about games that he would suggest for my son, um, even though there's a significant age difference. So I ended up talking to him regularly about video games, and he was regularly writing about them for his free writes. And his engagement with the free writes then all of a sudden went up, as well as I saw other assignments coming in, and just a noticeable increase in just his engagement in general. And then when I did have him finally in person, I had and still do have a pretty attentive student who makes good eye contact, who nods when it's appropriate, and who just seems like he's paying attention and likes what we're doing. Ultimately, what I found, though, is that for this particular formally disengaged student, free writing allowed me to make a connection that would have been difficult to make otherwise if I hadn't been able to read his writing. Okay, so what do I do with all this stuff now? Well, next, if I'm going to take this research further, and I am legitimately interested in it, so I would like to refine it a little bit. Obviously, a lot of this was done for class, and we had this strange year, but I'd like to take time to focus on a greater number of students to see how successful this free writing can be for this specific purpose, to build community, to build a connection with students. I'd also like to explore how the quality of the writing and the quantity of the written work improves as well. Lots of times, especially my 7th grade students are writing a sentence or two, when others maybe are writing a whole paragraph or two. So how can I get them to improve that quality of writing in addition to building those connections with the students? I'd like to explore focal students' attitude toward writing over a full year of regular free writing activities. So not just this short amount of time that we had to work with them until and some of it had to do with me settling on my topic. But yeah, a full year of it, and even like if you could do a longitudinal and focus on how kids over the course of their middle school career or over the course of their high school career, if they had regular free writing opportunities, how that impacts their growth, but more importantly, their attitudes toward writing. I'd also like to explore the role that teacher commentary plays in the success of free writing assignments. The different types of teacher commentary, formal and informal, short, quick and sweet, or longer paragraph length responses to writing. I think that's another real interesting thing, because I think the more in-depth a teacher gets with how they comment on the student's work, you have the potential for even a stronger connection. But again, I don't know for sure, and that's something that I'd like to explore. And then this, I think, is probably the most fascinating development for me, is like I would like to try to systematize something that maybe we have never tried to systematize before, and that is I'd like to assess the quality and substance and even type of teacher-student conversations that occur, especially with disengaged students, to explore the role that these quality conversations with students in an academic and so to explore the role that they have in students' academic and socio-emotional success in a school. It's a mouthful, but to simplify it, is there a way that upon reflecting about a conversation we've had with students that we can categorize it, that we can score it, rate it, so that we can start to have data rather than just anecdotal evidence? I think that is, again, the lasting thing for me that like I've taken from this, and if I could start it all over again, I might focus just on something like that. So what can my study do for you? I think that any good teacher should be looking for the ways that we can connect with our students. And I think my study shows how one student's classroom experience can be positively impacted by the combination of free writing exercises and a teacher's intentional use of that information that they discover when reading student writing. So it goes beyond using free writing to assess student writing, but it's to create culture, to cultivate culture in a classroom. And I hope that regardless of discipline or grade level, that other teachers can see the efficacy of free writing as a tool to build not only writing fluency, but strong teacher-student relationships that contribute to a strong and positive classroom culture. Additionally, I hope that other teachers can see that free writing allows for easy inroads into conversations with disengaged and disaffected students, particularly. So if you can get them to produce the writing and they're writing about something that's just even a little bit personal, whether it's about their favorite musicians or their sports or video games like I did, that is a great starting point, especially if you are just getting to know students in the beginning of the year or midway through the year for when we return to in-person after a pandemic. So that's it, I believe. Yep. And hopefully, if you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me in the chat or send me an email at michael.rich@jefferson.kyschools.us. Thank you for your time.